Drop it. Power panel. Jake Ujano. Ida Rodriguez is back. Ida's back. Okay. I don't know if this is hashtag too soon, but Hurricane Ida, good to have you back. Okay.
It is.
It is. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I checked.
Okay, but she is a force of nature, and everybody knows it. Hey everybody. All right, listen, big show ahead for everybody. We got tons of news. Joe Biden in the members section is Biden versus Trump. Are they going to actually fight? We've got everything you can imagine. Manchin versus Sanders. We got all sorts of fights.
Are they going to fight?
Yeah, well, yeah, certainly politically. But before we do anything else, Ida, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm glad that this is the theme of the day because my new special that I just taped is called Fighting Words.
Oh, nice.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
It's going to be out in the fall. I'm happy to be here. It's so funny because while I was taping my special, that was the August 21st. And while I was on stage, Ida rained down on Ida.
Oh, geez.
I got caught in the most random rainstorm of all time in LA because it rained in LA. That never happens. And I enjoyed it. I walked around in the rain. I was like, that's fun. It's different. This is a slightly different
like a musical
way of starting the show. Why not? Normally we do it in the bonus episode. Become a member, we'll do more of it. All right, John, let's actually do the news. What do you think?
Okay, well, I mean, I could talk about like walking on the beach. I like that. Kicking up sand. You know, just looking at the boats, wondering what distant ports they came from. But anyway, I guess we can talk about the news too. Anyway, yesterday we reported on President Biden's new plan to get more people vaccinated. And in effect, for about 1 out of 3 Americans, if they work for a corporation that's large enough, they will sort of have to get vaccinated. It's being called a mandate, but please bear in mind that you don't have to get vaccinated. You can alternatively simply get tested for COVID every week. But everybody's forgetting about that part and we're all pretending that it's a mandate. So let's go forward with that understanding. Now we have the reaction, and virtually everyone on the right hates this, regardless of what they've said personally in the past about vaccine mandates. And we'll be doing a bit of fact checking for that. But why don't we start with Mike Pence, who was in a position of authority in response to the pandemic not long ago. Here's what he had to say about the new plan.
I have to tell you, the president's speech yesterday was unlike anything I'd ever heard from an American president. I mean, to have the president of the United States say that he's been patient, but his patience is wearing thin. That's not how the American people expect to be spoken to by our elected leaders. But to say that it's not about freedom, it's exactly about freedom. America is about freedom and the ability to make the best decision for your family, for your business.
Sure.
And now to have a president not just scolding the American people, but scolding governors around the country, it's just not the American way. And I expect the response they're going to get from across the country will prove that.
Yeah, what Mike Pence gets is that the American public has become used to the president always being very polite and speaking in a respectful fashion, never saying anything harsh, attacking any groups inside of America, anything like that. But he wasn't just angry at President Biden's tone or his word choice. He said this is about freedom. American families should be able to choose. They should be able to choose for their families. They should not be required to do anything. And again, they don't have to. They don't have to get vaccinated. But even if we pretend that they will be required to, what's interesting is that back in February 2015, former Governor Mike Pence had this to say about vaccine mandates, saying, Indiana law requires all children be protected from vaccine preventable diseases like the measles by getting vaccinated. Vaccines protect all our children from illnesses, and our administration strongly urges Hoosier families to have their children vaccinated. So when he was in charge of a state, he was perfectly happy with, in fact, proud of their vaccine mandate because it protected children, and in so doing, protected their families from diseases that might be transmitted through their children. Now we're in the exact same situation, lots of people dying from a disease that can be prevented, but it's not politically convenient to be on the side of vaccine mandates, and so the former vice president has changed his position. There will be others doing likewise, but what do you all think about this?
Okay, so I'm gonna get to a little bit later what the actual patriotic and American thing to do is, and obviously John's point is very good. When we all know this, I mean, this is all lunacy. We've all been taking vaccines our whole lives. And it's been mandated in 1,000 different circumstances for polio and many other diseases. This is just a culture war issue that has nothing to do with logic, facts, reason, science, or medicine at all. It has to do with a certain group of Neanderthals in the country who decide, me no like science, me like Trump better. Okay, that's reality. You can cry about it, and I encourage you to cry about it. Get out your emotions, because I know Republicans are all about emotions now. Somebody hurt Trump's feelings. I mean, literally, a guy we covered yesterday in Tennessee, I believe. Oh, I didn't want to take vaccine. And I'm not kidding. He actually did talk like that. I'm doing a mild version of it because it hurt Trump's feeling. Okay, I don't like that. And then he got COVID, and then luckily he survived by taking all sorts of other medicines by the same companies that hurt Trump's feelings. Okay, anyways, but the main thing I wanted to say about Pence is nobody who supported Donald Trump gets to talk about, they don't like the president talking to the American people that way. That's scolding. I mean, imagine a president scolding anyone. Hey, Mike, they were chanting, hang Mike Pence, as they broke into the Capitol. I would put that under the wide category of scolding. When they want to execute you, that's scolding in an extreme way. Do you guys know that Donald Trump, after finding out that his fans wanted to murder his own vice president, never apologized to Pence? He never apologized to him.
Or asked them not to?
And this sad little man, Mike Pence, thinks he's gonna run for president. Dude, they wanted to execute you. You have a 0% chance of winning. Now Republican voters hate you more than Democratic voters because you wouldn't rig an election in a way you couldn't do anyway. And now you're gonna go out here and try to, can you imagine an American president talking roughly with the American people? Well, I've never seen any such thing. Look, that's why any media that entertains this is trash, and turn them off. And if you are an actual journalist, you don't have to yell at him, you don't have to do anything. You just have to say, Mr. Vice President, are you being serious? You were the vice president for Donald Trump, who often spoke far worse to the American people. So this is a genuine question out of intellectual curiosity. Did you miss those 4 years? Did you miss the chant? Like, I'm trying to understand what you're saying, because if we're all honest actors, you couldn't possibly mean what you just said. That's the most absurd thing that anybody's ever seen. So, Ida.
I want to know, I would love for someone to ask Mike Pence if he's been vaccinated, because a lot of times these people who are instigating and playing these games with the American people were first in line to get the vaccination, because they stand and they sit in a privileged place and had access to it long before, many people had to go stand at stadiums and have specific jobs or illnesses to stand in line first. The other thing is, I'm so tired of this elitist, whether we're talking about Republicans or Democrats, there's an elitist problem in this country with people who stand in a place of privilege, who have opportunities and access to everything, always speaking about the people who don't. And, Mike Pence is even as dangerous as Donald Trump, because, he played that game. He really played the game. He just jumps back and forth wherever it's convenient for him. He's been very dangerous for his state and the people of his state. But I'm so tired of hearing this these talking points, because at the end of the day, point blank, all it is an assault on the intelligence of the average American, because our education system is so failed and people lack information and don't have access to quality education in this country, that now you can just move them emotionally because they don't know what is what. And at the end of the day, that's all this is. It's just an attack on American people because our education system is so lacking, and these people don't know science, they don't know geography, they don't have information. And what these elitists are doing, that's what I'm gonna start calling them, is playing with these people's emotions.
Yeah, and playing with their lives too, because as you point out, they're all vaccinated. Pence is vaccinated. I believe he's actually said it. The next person we're going to talk about Ben Shapiro is as well.
No, Mike Pence was actually one of the first people to get vaccinated, because, and on that front, I have no criticism of him. He should have gotten vaccinated as he did, and say it publicly, so I'll encourage others to get vaccinated, which he does actually. So let's be fair about it. So, and he said, Karen and I were vaccinated, and I thought, which one? And then I realized, oh no, his wife is named Karen. Okay, she's a literal Karen. Okay, got it. But see, we're fair. Pence said, "Hey, listen, what Trump was done was maniacal, and of course he talked like this all the time to the American people. But I didn't like it back then. I agree with the philosophy and the principles and the legislation, but I don't agree with that manner, and hence I don't agree with it when Joe Biden does it. I should know best because they were looking to execute me. But then we would say, okay, fine, that's his opinion. It's the hypocrisy and the disingenuous nonsense that I can't stand.
Yeah,
but 100%. You got more on this?
Oh, we do, yes. So one part of this announcement by Biden is that corporations that do not comply with this can be fined up to $14,000 for each case of non-compliance. And now we have the right-wing corporations saying whether they actually plan to challenge it or not, whether they even have the 100 employees necessary to trigger it or not, saying that they're not going to comply. And Ben Shapiro's company is one of those. So here he is talking about their legal path forward.
Ben, your company's got over 100 employees, so what are you going to do? Are you going to listen to the president? Everybody going to roll up their sleeves, or are you going to take a different approach?
Of course not. We're going to use every method and resource at our disposal to defy the president's unconstitutional order. And this is coming from somebody who's very pro-vaccine. I was vaccinated as soon as possible. I've encouraged everybody to get the vaccine, or pretty much everybody to get the vaccine. And the notion that the federal government has the ability to force every business in America with over 100 employees. By the way, I'm not sure why it's over 100 employees. Theoretically, it should be every business in America because you can get infected anywhere. He said he came into office saying, I'm not going to shut down the economy. I'm not going to shut down the country. I'm going to shut down the virus. He failed to shut down the virus, so now he's going to shut down the economy and the country, apparently. The provisions that Joe Biden is going to be citing under OSHA are wildly overbroad. And frankly, I think that he's made a huge tactical legal blunder here. I think there's every possibility that something like this goes to the Supreme Court level, and suddenly we see a complete rewriting of the administrative state because Joe Biden couldn't get his act in order, and so he decided to issue a tyrannical and authoritarian order here.
It's just so, like, he's not shutting down the virus, he's shutting down the economy. No, if you encourage people not to work, not to comply, that is very much on you. The economy is suffering right now because the pandemic is going as poorly as it is. So he is taking that seriously at the very least. Let's also note the irony of the fact that he's having that conversation with the cast of Fox and Friends who work for a corporation that is doing these policies. But anyway, I also want to point out the personal hypocrisy, because he says, oh, I'm not being hypocritical, I'm against the mandates, which again, it's not a mandate. You don't have to get vaccinated, you can just get tested, but they pretend that that's not true. But I am pro-vaccine. But the thing is, he's also pro-mandate, or at least he was when he wrote in Town Hall back in 2015 this: the point of mandatory vaccinations is not merely to protect those who are vaccinated. When it comes to measles, mumps, and rubella, for example, children cannot be vaccinated until 1 year of age. The only way to prevent them from getting diseases is to ensure that those who surround them do not have those diseases. The same is true for children with diseases like leukemia, as well as pregnant women. Herd immunity is designed to protect third parties, but Americans have short memories and enormous confidence in junk science. That doesn't mean that all vaccination should be compulsory, of course. There are certain diseases that can only be transmitted by behavior, like HPV. There are others that are too varied for effective herd vaccination, like the flu shot. But when it comes to measles and mumps and rubella and polio, your right to be free of vaccination and your right to be a dope with the health of your child because you believe Jenny McCarthy's idiocy ends where my child's right to live begins.
Oops.
So he not only supported mandatory vaccinations, he specifically did so that philosophically, you don't have the freedom to risk other people's lives. But oops, now it's not just Jenny McCarthy, it's the entire right that's against this. So I guess my values, they're whatever they have to be. I want you to keep listening to me. I want you to give me money. So I'll say whatever you need me to say. That's Ben Shapiro's position.
Yeah, so first of all, why the hypocrisy? Why bother? Because conservatives like Ben Shapiro are always trying to seem like they're the reasonable ones. So they'll set a bottom of the barrel that's really, really low and think, well, they're not gonna cross this bottom, right? So it's okay. I can just say, hey, look, we shouldn't murder each other with contagious diseases. That's an easy bottom. And then I'll get to say to the people and the suckers in the media and other folks, I'm the reasonable conservative. Hey, look, I'm in favor of vaccines. But then Republicans always go past the bottom of the barrel. Remember, he was against Trump in the beginning. He's like, oh, the way he's talking is really crude, and I bet he's in favor of porn. Yeah, remember, Ben Shapiro wrote a whole book against porn. Donald Trump had sex with porn actresses without a condom. Okay, let's just understand level set here, right? So he's like, oh, I don't like him, he likes porn, he likes other things, I don't like him, right? And then they're like, hey, shut up and like Trump, his audience says to him. He's like, oh, okay, I love Trump, never mind, I'm sorry, I love Trump, I hate vaccines, I mean, I'm vaccinated, my wife's a doctor, do you know my wife's a doctor? I mention it in every show, okay? And then, but you don't get vaccinated, Okay, by the way, who likes this guy? I don't get it. Who looks at Ben Shapiro, maybe it's a different country, who looks at Ben Shapiro and thinks like, oh, I love fast-talking dudes who look down at me and say things that don't make any sense and that then contradicted themselves all the time. It's well, yeah, Republicans like it. Yeah, I got it. Okay, anyway, and he says, oh, Biden failed to shut down the virus. That's because your moron fans won't get vaccinated. Like so. Okay, oh yeah, let's show Biden, man. He's not gonna beat the vaccine. I mean, he's not gonna beat the coronavirus. You know why we're gonna get the coronavirus? We're gonna smear it in our ears. And then maybe if we die, then that'll show Biden. They'll be like, you good, Ben? Meanwhile, Ben's been vaccinated the whole time. So is Pence, so is their doctor wives and their Karen wives. They're all vaccinated, laughing their ass off at their stupid followers who are dying to help them politically so they can get Joe Biden. And John's right. This whole segment was about the Daily Wire will not comply with the laws of Joe Biden. We hate rule of law and law and order. Law and order. We hate the cops, right? Okay, that's fine. But you're on Fox News. They certainly have more than 100 employees. Fox News ain't said a word because we showed you the memos earlier. Internal memos show Fox News is mandating vaccines, masks, you name it, they mandate it. They're like, remember, guys, we're not stupid. Our audience is stupid. We all keep safe and we make sure they die for our political benefit. Isn't that hilarious? And that's the scum that is conservative media today. Ida.
So I stand corrected about Pence. In all transparency, I've been staying away from these people as I was preparing for my special because they depress me. Because I actually know quite a few people who have passed away from coronavirus, and to watch this virus being politicized in the manner in which it has caused a lot of people from my community and many communities to fall, and it's just gross to see them playing this game. But I stand by what I said about this elite, attitude and this elite air that they have. Like he said it proudly. My wife and I both have been vaccinated, but it's the game that they're playing with these people who, like I said, don't have the information, the benefit of an education. They don't know the science behind it. That all of the conspiracy theories, like I've had people hit me with, they're trying to slip something in me. And I'm like, I see you. If they were trying to slip something in you, all they had to do was put it in a Big Mac. They don't have to come up with a No, they're trying to track me. No, where? 7-Eleven? They want my DNA. No, they want LeBron's DNA. They don't want your DNA. So I stand by it. I feel like they're just running game. Like Cenk just said, it's all for political gain. In the middle of it, all of those people who follow blindly and perish don't matter, because they don't care about you anyway. And as much as we go at it with those people that way, nobody insults those people more than their own, the people that they're following. Yeah. Nobody insults their intelligence more. They are like, you know what? Look, let's tell them what they want to hear, because they're gonna do it. They're gonna follow. If we just do this a little bit, they're gonna fall for it, because they don't have good educations. They're too busy working. They don't have health care. They ain't got no money. They don't have time to go find out the real stuff. So just tell them to drink Clorox. Tell them to drink whatever the horse medication is. They're gonna do it. Just do it. And if you don't think it's that evil, then you really, really need to pick up something and read.
Yeah, all right, I'm just gonna say the last couple of things. First of all, if they slip it into the Big Mac, I'm a goner. And every time I drive by a 7-Eleven, I think, I like their hot dogs. But I do too. My line of the week, though, is from Ida on, they don't want your DNA. Trust me, they don't want your DNA. They don't want any part of that. Okay, I'm gonna show you guys something. I just wanna show them number of deaths in America from coronavirus. Because they say, oh no, this is all, they're slipping it in because that could kill you later. You know what kills you? Coronavirus. 656,000 dead in America. 656,000 dead in America. And all the top Republicans are vaccinated. But they're getting you guys to die for them. If you think that's owning the libs, have at it, Hoss.
Yeah. Well, we are rapidly burning through the hour. Why don't we take our first break? But when we come back, we've got Republicans fighting Republicans, and then Bernie Sanders versus Joe Manchin. That should be fun. We'll be back after this.
All right, we're back. Cenk, Ida, and John with you guys. Ida, They Ready Season 1, produced by Tiffany Haddish. Is that already on?
Yeah, that's on Netflix.
Okay, They Ready, yeah, that's the one hello. Okay, now because I got confused because I'm like, wait, I watched that one. Mm-hmm. And then you got the HBO Max thing going on. Is there a station you're not on, or do you own all of the media?
That's so funny. I'm not on Fox. They're making fun of me. But I will say this to you: when I was touring, right up until the weekend before my special, my last weekend was in Vancouver, in New Westminster, and the TYT people came out. And they wanted me to let TYT know that even in that little place of New Westminster in Vancouver, that they love TYT. So I promised that I would relay the message. And they have a very high percentage of vaccinated people in that city. I think they're like at 80%.
Nice. No, by the way, Plan B. Plan A is fight, stay, fight, win. Okay, we're gonna definitely do Plan A. Total in case of like ridiculous, the fascists have won. It's literal Nazis. We're all about to be get arrested or murdered. Plan B is Vancouver. That's always been the case. Vancouver is the best non-American city. I said it. John, let's do the news.
Okay, let's begin Plan C. The Republicans very much want to retake the House in 2022, but what path should they take? This guy, he wants candidates that are all like in a very specific way. They all like him, and that's pretty much it. They also tend to be pretty crazy, which makes it a risky proposition. Are these the sorts of candidates that can actually win in swing districts? Well, there's one man who doesn't seem to think that is likely, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, because he's actually kind of quietly behind the scenes raising money for more moderate Republican candidates that don't have the support of Donald Trump. According to CNN, he's quietly raised $100,000 for 5 of the 10 members of Congress thought to be in Trump's crosshairs in this electoral cycle. McCarthy is said to be concerned that should a far-right candidate win a primary in those swing districts, they would stand no chance against a Democrat in a general election. And with control of the House likely to come down to a precious few seats in 2022, McCarthy believes those moderates may be the key to his reclaiming the Speaker's chair. He's apparently also gone as far as to ask Trump to back off of 2 House moderates, Representative John Katko and Representative David Valadao. So Look, this is there's been a negative response to this from some. Marjorie Greene tweeted like 1,000 times today about the fact that the Republicans are backing these moderates that she despises so much. I haven't seen a response from Trump yet, but I imagine he is not going to like this. I mean, he has been on a tear against the people who voted for his impeachment, anyone who's not sufficiently supportive of him. And so you have these different goals, retaking the House and Trump being happy, that might collide in advance of the primaries.
Okay, so I love this for many reasons, and I'm ready to shock the world. In this catfight between Donald Trump and Kevin McCarthy, I rule for Donald Trump.
What?
So for a couple of reasons. Number one, I believe in internal party fights, and so when the establishment, whether it's in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, says, no, I do declare we must protect all people who are already currently in power. And it doesn't really matter what their principles are, their policies are, etc. Shut up and bow your head. I don't agree. I think it's a terrible way to go. And I think these fights oftentimes make the parties stronger. That's why the Republican Party is infinitely stronger than the Democratic Party, because they've been having these fights and putting out their message and pushing the entire country more to the right. So as a matter of strategy, I generally agree with it. Now, in this particular case, the second reason why I like it is normally, and I've said this for 20 years, you can go back and watch the tapes, and every time Rachel Maddow's like, oh, can you believe the Republicans are fighting? It's so great. I'm like, no, it's not. It only makes them stronger, okay? But in this case, no, they are already massively right-wing. And they have lost purple districts and purple states. So if Trump gets his way and they get like radical anti-vaccine, anti-fax, sanity candidates, which is the only kind that Trump will okay, because they have to say, by definition, they have to say Joe Biden's not the actual president, Donald Trump is, he's gonna get reinstated, and whatever other fiction that they're going to invent, right? Those candidates in a purple district are not likely to win these days, right? Why? Look at what happened in Georgia. And Trump, by doing this exact tactic, cost the Republicans the Senate. And now he might cost them the House. So keep going, brother, way to go. I'm with Trump on this one. Okay, McCarthy, no, you don't want sane people in purple districts. You want insane people. That's the right strategy. You better bow your head. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Trump are mad at you. Ida.
You know what's funny is, isn't it interesting to see where these people have drawn their lines when they're like, this is enough? When they're like, these are the people that sat by and watched Donald Trump say and do whatever he wanted to do for the amount of time that he was in office and then some, and just watched America just crumble. How many people did you say died, Jake?
656,000.
Yeah.
656,000 people. This is the stuff that forces me to always remind people that these politicians don't care about you. All they care about is winning, and all they care about is money, because they don't care. They don't care about you. They pretend care about the country while the country's been on fire for all these years. Now they're going to draw the line and say we're not against this lunatic. We don't want to be affiliated with this lunatic, when this lunatic had everybody in the jar. That's an expression, in the jar. We say that in the hood. Had him in the jar and was what was he doing? He was, what's the word? I don't want to be too hood on here today, but he kept playing with them, because Donald Trump has to have an amazing bolt of information that he blackmails people with, because everybody just fell in line. Now the cuckoo lady, who should be subject to a psychiatric evaluation before anything else in life, is upset with McCarthy. Trump is upset. Thank God we don't have to hear this man on all social media anymore, because it really was traumatic for the American people. But what I'm saying is we sit here and we have these party conversations and this infighting. The reality of it is that a lot of these people are in the same gang, and they are all in it for the almighty dollar, and they could care less about you. And the ones who actually care about you are the ones that are getting death threats, the ones that are being called communists, the ones that are constantly under fire, the very small minority of public officials that actually care about the American people are the outliers that people continuously throw under the bus. And these people who don't care about you playing these games, like I said, they keep playing with you because you don't read books, you don't have a good education, you don't know the difference between, I don't even know, you didn't learn anything that was of value to you so that you can survive in this world. You learned the Pythagorean theorem, but they didn't teach you how to balance a checkbook. This is a country that you live in, and now they're playing these games with your life.
Yeah, they don't know any theorems, let's be honest. Okay, so last thing here, Donald Trump, again, tactically, I don't disagree. This is how you gain complete control of a party. If you oppose me, I eliminate you in a primary. Okay, so strategically he is correct. But of course the problem here is it's not in service of the party or its principles. It's only in service of Donald Trump. That's why I say in this case it's self-destructive for the Republican Party, and that's why I'm in favor of it. But understand that this is a normal friction and a normal battle. It's just Trump misuses his power because he doesn't care about anyone else. He doesn't care about passing legislation so the voters can have higher wages or better healthcare. He's probably never even thought of it. I mean, remember the first time when he was president, he talked about healthcare. It's like no one knew it was this complicated because he'd never given it a second thought. Helping the voters, who cares, right? So, but finally, again, Ida wins the day with putting them in a jar. And I immediately started thinking, what kind of jar? Is it Smuckers? And then I thought, Schmuckers.
That is true. Yeah, totally misusing the power. This would be equivalent to Hillary Clinton just going around the country choosing people based exclusively on them liking her.
Yeah.
That's not a model. It makes me wonder, and I know we don't have time to really go into it, but like, can you even conceive of, like, they love to say that like chuckleheads like Marjorie Greene and Lauren Boebert are the right's equivalent to the squad. They're not, there's no comparison. But can you even conceive of something like it on the right actually arising? If right-wing populism actually existed and wasn't just a sham by rich people like Tucker Carlson, that organically, not connected to the party, people who were right-wing but actually identified problems out there that conservatives are facing and came up with solutions that were founded in conservative values, actually ran and began winning primaries, not connected to the ruling powers of the Republican Party. Like, I can't even imagine that actually happening. I have seen no sign of it, but I don't know, just something to think about.
There are only two powers in the Republican Party, corporate donors and Donald Trump. And they're both out for themselves and don't care about you at all. And that's the main point that Ida was making and John was making, and there's no disputing that. Whereas, by the way, in the Democratic Party, there's also the corporate donors also looking out for themselves, but there's actually a wing of the party, like Bernie's, where he ran on the slogan of not me, us, because he's actively trying to bring you in and serve you.
Yeah.
That was actually the whole point of democracy, but all of the Republican Party and a lot of the Democratic Party have forgotten that.
Yeah. Well, why don't we talk about the feud between those two parts of the party now?
I just wanted to say one thing quickly. The language, like if you listen to the language of the public officials, when they say what's best for conservatives or what's best for liberals, those are the people you want to run away from. Because the people who are real public officials, regardless of where they stand politically, what they should be saying is what's best for the American people. And that is what turned me off from a lot of these, even Democrats, because we have to change the language, because we should be caring about all the American people, even if we think that they are whatever we think they are. I'm not going to call them out of their names. I'm not in the mood for that today. But I just really feel that when you hear people just only speaking about the people who think like them and believe like them, those are the people who do not need to be in public office.
Yeah, I can't help but add one thing to that. Guys, if you're out there and you're watching this, or you ever watch us, understand we're not trying to get higher wages just for progressives or just for Democrats. We're trying to get higher wages for everybody, okay? We fight for them even if they hate us. So yeah, I call them schmuckers, but I want them to have health care so their kids don't die. because we're the good guys. So that's why we look out for even them. Even no matter what they say about us and no matter what they think about us, we're still gonna get them higher wages, we're still gonna get them health care, and we're still gonna protect the planet that they live on.
Yeah, I mean, what have we done? 5,000 segments about COVID trying to stop people from being killed because they happen to watch Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity.
Yeah.
Like desperately trying to get through to people that hate our guts so that they won't die. 100%. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. The budget reconciliation infrastructure bill is being crafted, and as that is happening, we are seeing a partially public but mostly behind the scenes fight between at least two different factions who have very different ideas of how big that bill should be, what the price tag should be, and what it should actually include. So you have Senator Bernie Sanders and you have corporate Democrats like Senator Joe Manchin, and their relationship is apparently non-existent right now. Asked about the relationship between the two, a former Manchin aide added, "There is no relationship, they do not talk." And you can sort of understand why. Right now, Joe Manchin pretty much has no interest in the reconciliation bill. He's focused on the so-called bipartisan bill, which is much friendlier to corporations via privatization, things like that. It doesn't include a lot of what was originally hyped up about the infrastructure bill that is now being shunted to the reconciliation bill. Things like the expansion of Medicare to include dental and vision, child tax credits, mandatory paid family leave, free community college, anything having to do with climate change and that sort of thing. So Manchin has recently been signaling that he is actually not in favor of the reconciliation bill at the size it's been discussed for several months. In response, Sanders says that he could kill the bipartisan bill by marshaling House progressives. And he wanted to know if Manchin would support the $3.5 trillion spending package that would cement Sanders' legislative legacy. Manchin's mad about that. He says, he's quoted as saying, "Hell no, Bernie, I'm not voting for $3.5 trillion." And then he says, speaking of Bernie, well, at least you're honest with me. And so look, the thing that's most frustrating about this is everything about Joe Manchin, but in particular that he's now saying he would be in favor of something like maybe 1.5 trillion, when and I cannot believe how many times I've had to bring this screenshot up. When the bills were initially announced months and months ago, Joe Manchin wanted to act like he was a bigger thinker than Joe Biden. He was bolder than Joe Biden, and he was calling for up to $4 trillion in infrastructure spending. Now, 1.5 million should be considered something like a fever dream almost. And so the details are being hashed out right now. We don't know exactly how big it's gonna be. We don't know how they're gonna pay for anything because lobbyists, including Heidi Heitkamp, people dispatched by the Chamber of Commerce, are trying to take out every possible tax increase whatsoever. And so that's basically where we're at right now.
Yeah, so they are the representatives of the two wings of the Democratic Party. Joe Manchin is the corporate wing. He proudly goes to the National Association of restaurants right after voting against minimum wage. The restaurants didn't want minimum wage. Right after the vote, Manchin goes there and collects checks. He believes in legalized bribery. He gave one of these statements about how the bill has to be lower and not deal with fossil fuels at all. After he went to the Chamber of Commerce, he's brazen about it.
The $1.5 trillion quote was at a luncheon for the Chamber of Commerce.
There you go. I mean, the NASCAR jackets wouldn't do it because all of his sponsors wouldn't fit on there, okay? And so he is purposely and obviously corrupt, but this goes back to the thing that I harp on, and for good reason. We've seen that headline 1,000 times, right? It's clear, there's no question about it, he said it, right? No, everybody in media has collective amnesia. No one has ever asked them, hey, didn't you just say $4 trillion just a little while back? So why are you saying 1.5 trillion now? Can you please explain yourself? No one has asked them that. No one ever talks about it. No one ever mentions it in an article. No, it's okay. The corporate orders have been given. We all ignore everything that was said before. We do only things that help corporations. Gee, I wonder if it makes a difference that they're all multi-billion-dollar corporations that run the media. And then the people in the media go, oh, that's conspiratorial. You think multi-billion-dollar corporations want to make a profit? Yeah, I think that's the whole point, isn't it? Right? So that's kind of how it works. And Sanders is of course, the leader of the progressive movement. And here, Now they mention in this article in particular that John referenced that Bernie drew the line at $15 minimum wage and Manchin drew the line at $11 minimum wage. No, Manchin didn't draw a line at $11 minimum wage. He voted against increasing the minimum wage. He never passed the $11 minimum wage. He never did anything for any minimum wage at all. Okay, and secondly, to be honest, because that's what we do on this program, because we actually believe in news and journalism, Bernie didn't push for the $15 minimum wage. He's pushed for it his whole career, but in that COVID relief bill, he had to be nudged into even proposing it as an amendment, and he purposely did not fight for it. So I'm not, look, that's a criticism of him that I had in the past. I'm just bringing this up here because that was a clear case where Bernie did not fight. But in this case, he is fighting. So I'm telling you right now, the guy who called him out last time, me, is telling you on this one, he's drawing the line. And they painted it like Bernie always draws. Bernie never draws a line. Like this is like the first time I've seen him say, no, 3.5 trillion, right? And normally with colleagues, he's like, oh, right? But here in this case, he's like, no, 3.5 trillion. Now, is he gonna give on that? Probably, okay? Because corporate Democrats are stronger and leadership agrees with them. And all of the media agrees with them. And they're gonna put a world of pressure on Bernie and AOC and the others. So understand how that's how it's gonna play out. But I have a prediction on if they're gonna do something and what the number is. I'll get to that in a sec. But I wanna give you Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's quote too, because this shows you, this is a whole new world. My whole life, whatever progressives were in Congress, would always bow down to the corporate Democrats, always. Unquestioningly, there'd never even be a fight and they would preemptively surrender. And it drove me nuts, okay? And that's part of the reason I, along with others, started the Just Democrats. So now AOC, the most spectacular win of the Just Democrats, she said this: nothing would give me more pleasure than to tank a billionaire dark money fossil fuel Exxon lobbyist drafted energy infrastructure bill if they come after our child care and climate priorities. So that she's saying, oh, you don't want to pass our $3.5 trillion bill? The one that Manchin did for $1 trillion, it's actually $500 billion with the Republicans and ExxonMobil? I'll kill it with pleasure. I've never seen anything like that. Okay, so thank God, finally, the fight is here.
Right. I constantly think about how some of these politicians stay in office after the conditions of the people where they rule never changing. And I've come up with this belief of mine that the American people, like many of them, have Stockholm syndrome, like worthiness issues, and don't think that they can do better. And that is why these same people who have been in office for a long time continue to be there and work on behalf of corporate America and not care or give a damn about the American people. When you think about, recently what has been happening in terms of the planet, the weather, right? You've seen, I was in New York where the night of my special, that was the most rain the Bronx had in history, and it was flooded. I came to flood the Bronx is what I was told. But I can't help but to think about the people of that community, the black and brown people and the white poor people, and the people who live in that community who don't have the access to things that these clowns in office have. There's no flood. There's no such thing as a flood that will last more than a couple of hours because they have the resources to get it handled. And I just think that people don't really understand what these types of fights mean for the communities who are affected the most by all of the ills of the world. And so I always try to use these as an opportunity to remind people that you have to vote out these clowns that don't care about you, even if they call themselves Democrats, even if they call themselves progressives. If their agendas don't match up with your needs, you gotta get them out of there, because look at the argument that these people are having, and these trickle down to being basic needs for people who don't have privilege and wealth in this country. And it is so frustrating.
Yeah. So let me do a prediction, guys. So for a long time, we've been wondering what's going to happen. There's the two bills, right? They keep calling it $1 trillion, it drives me crazy. Half of it is old money that was already passed. But let's go with it. There's $1 trillion bipartisan bill. That's the ExxonMobil corporate funded bill that AOC is referring to. So that's already passed the Senate. And then there's a $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill, which is also infrastructure, but is a little bit broader. That's the one that the Democratic Party, not just AOC and Bernie Sanders, but Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they all say they're behind that, right? And the progressives are saying, we will not do the $1 trillion one if you don't do the $3.5 trillion one, and we're drawing the line, and their line is very clear. And the corporate Democrats are saying, we don't want to do the other one, you need to pass the $1 trillion one and then shut up about it, right? So in the old days, I know exactly what would have happened. And I've told you this on the show, and on this, on legislative issues, we're almost never wrong, okay? They would have passed the $1 trillion version, and they would have killed the 3.5, and they would say, oh, we ran out of time, put pressure on the progressives, you guys are hurting the country, and you're hurting your own voters, and you're the worst, and how dare you criticize other Democratic colleagues, and that's all they would have done. But here, as we told you throughout, the dynamic is changing. Pelosi is seeming to join the progressives in such starkly clear terms publicly that it would hurt her reputation if she doesn't pass it. And that is very new and different, okay? And among many other things. And so I couldn't figure it out. What are they gonna do? Normally they would kill us. So now I think after this latest round, I got it. They are gonna do the reconciliation bill because otherwise, no, AOC, Bernie, and the rest are not joking. They will not pass the $1 trillion bill. And if they're not gonna pass the $1 trillion bill, the infrastructure bill, then Biden has got to have it. He can't not have it. Pelosi and Schumer can't not have it. They must pass the reconciliation bill. But are they gonna do $3.5 trillion? No way. And so my guess is they will negotiate it down as far as they can go, and that'll probably be around $2 trillion. And here, I'll throw out a number, 2.1, okay? Just for fun. And then the progressives will be super mad, and they'll cut out a bunch of the climate stuff, if not almost all of it. They'll gut really important parts of it, but then everybody will turn in their fury again and do the old tactic of, what the hell, we're giving you another $2 trillion, you gotta pass it. Oh, you guys are the worst, you're costing the country. And at that point, my guess is Bernie and the others will begrudgingly say yes. That's my guess, I have no inside information on it, right? But based on what I know about politics, that looks like that's where this train is headed. And so, and by the way, guys, you should be super proud of yourself if you're a TYT viewer. And I'm not just saying that, it's absolutely based in fact. The TYT viewers raised $2.5 million for Justice Democrats in 2018 when no one, no pundit, no expert in the country thought any of those candidates had any chance at all. But you guys made that miracle happen. You were among the people who made it happen. Of course, the candidates were wonderful, okay? But without that seed money, I don't think they could have won. And so now those people are holding the line, and we might get an extra couple of $1 trillion to help the American people because of what you did. Isn't that amazing? And if you are a volunteer for any of those campaigns or you donated to any of those campaigns, you should be incredibly proud of what you've done. Thank you. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be right back. All right, back on TYT, Cenk, John, and Ida with you guys. We love it when you guys use YouTube Super Chat. We appreciate it. And Ray Turner, AKA the Bearded Dragon, wrote in, sorry I'm late. Friday night is D&D night. I'm sure Daddy Dragon will forgive me for that. Yes.
Oh my God,
that was great.
Ready to go.
Yes. You know what?
It's Tuesday night for me, by the way.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ. But nonetheless, I pardon you, okay? Enjoy your Dungeons and Dragons and your TYT. All right, John.
Okay, the few minutes remaining. It wasn't only the right wing that was frustrated with Joe Biden during his announcement of the change to the federal government's vaccine policy. Here's Jake Tapper.
He took on a scolding tone, talking to the people who are unvaccinated, talking about how people's patience is running out, talking about this mandate. People don't want big government telling them what to do. Now, the difference between now and back then is now the anti-science component of our society is bigger. And it has, there are grifters, there are people who are using this for ratings, for clicks, all sorts of, for votes. And so I haven't yet really seen the Biden administration talk or try to address this. I don't think scolding is the approach. There are these purveyors of misinformation out there, and they're not just on the right. Robert Kennedy Jr. is one of the most notorious ones. And I haven't seen the president or anyone say, look, people, like he's scolding the people that are being lied to as opposed to the liars. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, so really fast, I have a couple of problems. One, I have a problem with myself. I introed that story saying it's not just the right wing, we also have Jake Tapper. I don't know why I would phrase it that way. But anyway, also, Joe Biden and the administration have tried literally every tactic. They have talked up the vaccine. They've dispatched scientists. They've made everyone available. They've subsidized things. This vaccine mandate, which again is not a mandate, you don't have to get the vaccine, you can just get tested, actually requires your employer to provide days off, paid days off, so that you can get it and so that you can deal with the side effects if you experience any. They'll take one sentence out of a speech and ignore the incredibly slow, gentle, patient approach that the government has had throughout this year. It's just so fake, and he should know better. He's covered every bit of this.
Yeah, so first off, both sides do it. Give me a break. Okay, are there people on the left who are anti-vax? Yes, okay. Are they the same percentage and proportion as the ones that are on the right? Of course not. It's become a culture war issue, and giant portions of Republicans are not taking the vaccine for political reasons, to take one or two outliers from the left and make it seem like, oh, I can't tell who's doing it. It's absurd, it's absurd. He called them anti-science and then talked about the left. So you have to at least give context, but that's the smaller issue. The larger issue here is, can you believe Joe Biden is scolding people? Well, what the hell you want him to do, right? So if you blame him for not controlling the pandemic, right? And that's what they were saying on Fox News. And Jake Tapper loves criticizing Biden. I criticize Biden all the time, but we do it on rational grounds. And here's what he did wrong. Here, let me explain it why. Jake Tapper does it on, well, I criticize Democrats as much as I criticize Republicans. I should get a medal for bipartisanship. That's how mainstream media works. What am I gonna criticize him on? The drone strike that killed all those civilians? No, that's not what we do in corporate media. So I gotta pick a thing. Oh, he was too mean to Republicans. Okay, but my main question to all of you guys, the anti-scolders, or really the scolders squared, because they're scolding us for scolding Republicans, right?
He just scolded Biden.
Yeah, and so that's why I tweeted out earlier in the day, I'm scolding Jake Tapper for scolding Biden on scolding anti-vaxxers, okay? We've got a new show called Scold School. Okay. So now, but my question to you guys, and it's a genuine question, and you could leave comments wherever you're watching this video. What the hell are we supposed to do? They won't listen. Somebody wrote on social media, persuade them. How, brother? I'm serious, how? They don't care about facts, they don't care about science, and they don't believe in reason or logic. So how do you talk to them in a way that they will, because I know what the mainstream media answer is. Kiss Republican voters' asses. Oh, the Republican voters are sacrosanct. They're amazing, wonderful, real Americans. I just can't believe Tucker's lying to them. I mean, they're geniuses, but they've been misled by hucksters, right? Well, if they're such geniuses, I'm not sure they would have been misled so easily, right? And so I have no reverence for them, but I do want to protect their lives and all of our lives. But I'm at a loss. I tried not calling them idiots for like a week and a half, right?
You almost made it.
Yeah, and then it doesn't matter, guys. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're nice to them. It doesn't matter if you're mean to them. It doesn't matter if you say things that are reasonable or things that are unreasonable. It's become part of their identity to be not that bright. That's really devastating, and everybody in mainstream media is gonna yell at me. But honestly, being anti-science, anti-logic, hence being stupid, has become part of the right-wing identity. And that is a hard thing to uproot. And that is really sad for the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also sad for corporations because people are not going to work and making them their dollars. And so when we look at how the economy was affected, sure, Jeff Bezos made $1 trillion, but that really did shut down a lot of small businesses. It shut down a lot of people and their work. The funny thing to me is I love when these people choose when they get gully. You know, I've watched Jake Tapper. What is it, Jack or Jake? What's this dude's name? Jake Tapper. Scold people before. Like he gets very indignant sometimes. I think, and right now nobody's scolding Republicans. They're scolding people who don't believe in vaccinations. And some of those people are not Republicans. Some of them are Democrats. But the funny thing is that everybody keeps playing this game because everybody wants to be dignified and do all. We just went through collective trauma watching the president of the free world say things that were so, that validated sexual assault, that were racist, that was, violent, misogynistic. They were calling for the assassination of Hillary Clinton. Like, we watched all of this stuff. Joe Biden falls up the stairs and America loses their mind. And it is amazing to me how people who are considered Democrats or liberals are always held to a higher standard. That the fact that you ask people, do you forgive them? Or, it's just crazy to me. And that's why sometimes I don't even want to identify with Democrats and liberals, because in this journey to consider yourself taking the high road, we end up getting punked by people who could care less if we wake up tomorrow. Yeah. And so he convinced me with all of that. I listened to Jake. I've listened to him before. I don't like to watch CNN. I've watched those videos where he goes in and he has his take on somebody, on what he thinks you're doing wrong. Now the president of the United States is talking about a virus that is killing people who look like me and darker on a daily basis at an advanced rate. So we got to do whatever we got to do. And if Biden is speaking up on behalf of that for whatever his motivation is, I'm with it, because I am tired of seeing my community being affected the most by this horrible, horrible virus. And mind you, when you listen to these people talk and this is what they decide, where they decide to fight, I would love to see you fight for things that really affect the communities that are being ravished by this virus. I would like to see you fight that hard for, the families of Ahmaud Arbery and the Black people who've been killed by law enforcement. This is where your fight is. You're talking about scolding people who don't want to get vaccinated, that come with the worst, the most ridiculous reasons for it. And listen, a lot of people don't trust the government. I get it. I understand you don't trust the government. Black people have a justifiable reason for feeling that way. But don't come to me and telling me that they're trying to install a chip to track you. Like this is what we talked about earlier. So I think it's all hypocritical. I think everything that these people do is for ratings. They do it for likes. They do it for follows, to sell books. They could care less about the American people. And quite honestly, I'm over it.
Yeah, and so look, guys, you're all right about all this. Like, the hypocrisy is unbelievable, because for the last 20 years, conservatives have been calling the left libtards, right? And how many times have they insulted the left in every conceivable way? Did I see Jake Tapper going tut 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 on that? He did on Trump, but when it comes to Republican voters, he thinks that affects his ratings. So he's like, oh, no. And of course, in Washington, being bipartisan and kissing the ass of Republican voters is like the most, they think they're the real Americans. People like Jake Tapper really believe that. They think Democrats and left, they're not real Americans. The real Americans are Republican voters, right? So they can say anything they want about the left, and they never get scolded. And I'm gonna give the last word to Michelle. She's one of our members. We love doing the show with our members. Michelle wrote in, didn't Jake Tapper try to scold Bernie during a town hall? That's exactly what happened. You're right, Michelle. But when it comes to scolding Republicans, he's like, how dare Joe Biden do that? Oh my God, I am outraged, and so is everyone in the cocktail party circuit. Okay, got you. All right, Ida, you're the best. We appreciate it. John was also here. I
feel scolded right now.
Everybody check out Damage Report. It's on 1 o'clock Eastern. You guys will love it, okay? And then Indisputable's right after that. All right, so speaking of right after, we'll come back with another power panel, just as powerful. Whoa, Skittles. What is this? We'll be back. Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur, and I'll see you soon.